Hi and welcome to this tutorial. In this Photoshop tutorial I'm going to show you some letterpress graphics techniques. So first thing you need is a good background. So a background that will work with a chiseled text effect, so stone or maybe even carving into wood, and it could also work with a metal background too. I've got some text ready prepared, so if you use the type tool to enter some text, I'm going to use letterpress and graphics. I'm going to turn graphics off for a second. And I'm going to be using the top line here, so letterpress. Now the first thing to do is I'm going to reduce the fill down to 0. That means that as we work, we're going to lose the white, but we're actually going to be able to see the layer style effects. So if we double click on that layer now, it's going to open up a layer style dialog box. So we're going to work with bevel and emboss first, and we're going to change a few things. So the style is going to be set to emboss. So already you can see the text forming there, so it's coming back. The technique is going to be smooth. The depth is going to be 100%. The direction is going to be up. And we're going to change the size to between 5 and 10. You can kind of play around with that effect. Then soften is going to be kept to 0. And the shading settings will be much kept the same. Okay, but you can play around with the angle and the direction of the shading to suit. So remembering that the lighting in this image is coming from above. Okay, so we want to keep it in this particular image near the top. Okay, so we're keeping shading pretty similar. So again, the bottom here is going to be kept to 50%, but we're going to change the shadow mode to a little bit lower. So I'm going to change that to 25%. So just dropping it down a little bit now. Then moving to gradient overlay, and with gradient overlay we're going to change it so that the color is black to white. Okay, so we're changing that so it's not a striking color. It's going to be quite simple, quite basic. Then we're going to change the angle again based on the lighting. So remembering that the lighting is coming from the top there, so that's probably about right. Now it doesn't look too good at the moment. The blending isn't correct, so we're going to change the blend mode to overlay, and that's going to create quite an interesting effect. And the opacity, we're going to drop this right down. Okay, I'm going to drop it down to about 10% here. So it's quite low, but it's going to add a nice subtle effect with regards to the lighting. Then we're going to move down to drop shadow, and drop shadow is going to bring some shadow behind our text here. So we're going to change the blend mode to color burn. Oops. There you go. So to color burn, and the opacity we're going to bring it down a little bit to between 35–40% maybe. So I'm going to bring it up a little bit more, so about 40, 45, 46 there. Then we're going to make sure that global light is ticked. That way we keep all of our lighting effects the same throughout the different styles that we use. Then with regard to distance, we're going to change the distance a little bit. I'm going to experiment with this. I'm going to go for about 10. That's good. Then the size probably about 15 and spread about 10. But again, you can experiment with this. You can see what kind of effect it has on your image as you're working. So yeah, so they're the kind of basic settings for the first step. So we can kind of see how our text here is standing off of our background. So I'm just going to click OK. Then we're going to bring back the next layer here, so we can see kind of how we've managed to transform this top layer quite drastically. So we're now going to go to our graphics layer. So clicking on the graphics layer, remembering to drop the fill down to 0%. Double clicking on that layer to bring up the layer styles dialog box. And this is nice and simple. So we're going to again work with bevel and emboss, and then we're going to make sure the style is set to emboss. This time the direction is going to be down, so we can see that now the text is very much sitting into the background. And the size, we're going to again play around with that. You can kind of see what fits, but quite low. So between sort of 0 up to 10. So keeping it quite low. Then going to color overlay, and the color overlay we're going to set the color to black. There we go. And blend mode is going to be set to color burn. So blending in, and the opacity is going to be brought right down again. Let's try down to about 10% or so. There we go. Then finally it adds an inner shadow. So click on inner shadow there. Blend mode is going to be color burn once again, and opacity dropping it down to about 25%. and again making sure global light is checked. So there you go, just hitting OK. So if you take a close look at our final result, we can see how some of our text is very much sinking into the background and chiseled into the stone, and the text at the top here is standing out from the stone, so using some different kind of effects. So this is quite a quick, speedy introduction to the effects, but as you're working, take care with how you do it. Just be kind of extra cautious with the angle of the light, making sure you set the right kind of quantity of shadow and you get a nice realistic effect. Okay, so good luck with your own designs, and I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.